Hello, and good afternoon. If I may, I'd like to conduct an experiment with all of you out there who are willing. I want to teach you something about yourself. I want you to know who you are inside of you. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, outwardly, we look at ourselves and we see ourselves as we are. We have a kind of perception of who we are, what kind of person we are. There's been studies that say that we have a lot of sub-personalities. That's what we clothe ourselves in. That's what they call emotions and a lot of other things. But I want you to take things a step further. In this experiment, I want you to get to know who you are. And I have had other videos explaining, the inner genius, how to become a genius. But we're gonna do a symbolic way of teaching you something right now. To start off, if you want to be a part of this experiment, first of all, realize that, say to yourself, I want to know myself better. Just say it. I want to know myself better. And say to yourself, say to your mind, say inwardly in your mind without even speaking it. Inside here, say, I want to get to know myself better. I want to know who I really am. I'm a Christian, so I've learned that through the Spirit, but I want you to learn this, even if you're not a Christian, to learn how to use your mind to know who you really are. Okay, because every man has dreamed of wanting to know what they're here for. Why am I here? How did I get here? A lot of people try to use evolution as an answer to evade the question of who you really are. But we're finding more and more as history goes on that evolution was a crock, because they've been finding human forms of people in fossils from over 400,000 years ago, saying that we had smart human beings, not hominins. And there were different species of humans on the earth, but not that we were primitive and ape-like. We were actually very intelligent. Okay, so evolution, I don't really find it plausible anymore. But now let's get back on this experiment. This is what I really want to get at. I want to teach you something and show you something that I've learned. So now that you've said, I want to know who I am, and you said it in your mind, I want to know who I am. Okay, you do those two things, I hope. Now next, in my one video I explained about shaking hands with yourself. What you need to do, if you have a good visual, imagination, even if you don't, we can do it in an external way. I want you to imagine shaking hands with yourself. Okay, now in your mind, imagine shaking hands with yourself. See the two hands meeting, clasping together, and shaking hands. Okay, that's a connection between your conscious thinking and your internal thinking, your subconscious thinking. They say there's all kinds of levels to it, but I'm going to deal with those two factors, your conscious and subconscious mind. Okay, so you're shaking hands with each other in your mind. You see in your mind's eye, you see two hands clasping. So you have difficulty envisioning this. Okay, what I want you to do is take your two hands like this, clasp them together, okay, and feel that, and imagine that feeling, because maybe you're not really good at visualization, but you're tactile, you can feel. Imagine feeling this in your mind. You can feel this sensation in your mind that you're shaking hands with yourself. You're getting to know yourself. Okay, now that you've done that, there's other ways of doing this, but I want to deal with just the visual and tactile one. They're the most available, most frequently used things that we use in our mind. Some people use other senses more vividly and better than that, and some people are blind, so they have to use a different form of sensation to, understand what I'm trying to tell them here. But okay, now that we've done this, okay, now that was just basically symbolic. What you did, you're shaking hands with yourself. What you're trying to say is you want to make an interconnection with a part of yourself that you're not familiar with, the internal part of your mind, that's your subconscious, or the area that holds vital and important information, and remembers all the details of extraordinary things that's happened in your life that are cataloged in your mind. Okay, now I don't want to make this all analytical and all hard to understand. I just want you to understand that do this on a daily basis, shaking hands with yourself in your mind, and before you go to bed at night, it's good at the time when you're tired to give yourself a suggestion. You say, I will learn to know myself better each and every day. You say this before bed. especially at a point where you're really tired. You may dream. Your mind will collect information, and the more you dwell on this, okay, the more it'll become imprinted in your mind. Your mind will work on concepts of ways of teaching you who you are to yourself. Because we only know pretty much the surface of who we are. A lot of people don't know themselves internally, but it's time for an awakening. It's time for people to open up and to understand who they are. Because we've been taught through our entire life to learn things extrovertly, outside of ourselves, instead of introvertedly inside of ourselves, because the real learning happens internally. The external is just, we're mimicking what we see, and we're playing in our mind, and it's just a involuntary action that we've been trained to do from child up. But, some people are different. Their makeup, their brain is different. They have more neuroreceptors in certain parts of their brain, so that they actually understand themselves more than we do. But they're lacking in social skills and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to teach you to do is not to lack in social skills, but to address those areas of your brain that you normally don't use. And symbolism is a very powerful key and tool. In life, they use it in advertising to get us to buy stuff and do all kinds of things. But I want you to learn your internal language. Learn about what's symbolic to you. People use dream therapy and stuff like that. I don't want to make this in depth. As time goes on, if you keep giving yourself the suggestion, I want to know myself, you'll start developing concepts in your mind, and things in your mind will start to open up and become available to you, even if it's imaginary, because imagination is what sets things in motion anyhow. Look at Einstein, his big imagination. And where did it lead? He came up with some fantastic, marvelous ideas, not to mention a lot of other great people. Even artists do it. They internalize things. They learn to learn from internally. Okay, now, that was the first thing I wanted to teach you, to learn how to understand yourself and to shake hands with yourself, and on a regular basis, teach yourself to say, I want to know more about myself. Okay, now that we've done that. Next, here's a little thing. I do little mental exercises to help my mind to process information a little bit quicker, And you notice that on a regular basis we blink, okay? We're blinking, okay? When you blink, the blink reaction helps you to record information around you. You might say, well, how is that possible? Okay, it's like a photo lens, or a photo, like a camera. The old cameras, you click it and it opens up, and the light hits the image and it's imprinted on this thing. Well, it works the same way with your eyes. You imprint things like that. And I guess the CIA used to teach people how to photo read and be able to see things and remember things in full detail. That what they call is kind of like a photographic memory. But I really don't think that's how the photographic mind really works. I think it's more hearing that helps with that, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But I know I'm rambling on here. I want to get back to this experiment. Darn it! Like, my mind is so salad brain. I'm always thinking about too much. Okay, now we did the symbolic shaking hands in the mind. We suggest to ourselves that we want to get to know ourselves, and I got about the blinking reflex. Now this exercise is very simple. What I want you to do, don't try to force it and don't try to hurry it. When you blink your eyes, imagine an A. You blink your eyes, imagine a B. Blink your eyes, imagine a C. And you'll see an image of the A and the B and the C. But you don't have to do it really fast. But over time, as you get used to the blinking, so you blink A, you see B, A, blink C, B, blink C, C. See that image in your mind every time you're blinking. Now, when you get used to doing this, okay, and you can blink A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you can see each of those individual letters, in your visual imagination, okay? After you can do that, you no longer need to blink. Once you've got that down to where you can blink at a fairly good rate and see each individual letter, or you can use numbers like 1, 2, 3, and you'll see these things. You're training your mind to process information a little bit quickly, just like a strobe. Strobe's thing makes things go really quick. It kind of slows things down too. Even though the strobe's going at a fast rate, it's slowing down You understand what I'm saying? It slows down things around, so that your perception of time is slowed down. See, time to us is just perception. There's no actual concept of time. Time is man-made. It's how we perceive certain distances and things, like length of years and stuff like that. But now I don't want to get in depth here. I'm trying to slow myself down so I can get this out to you. Now that you've worked on the blinking thing, and you can see these images of the letters and numbers as you blink, now you no longer need to actually physically blink. Now you see the flashes of light to dark, just like you're blinking, but now you see the flashes of light to dark in your mind, and now you start to see A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You'll see those flashes, and you'll see the letters or the numbers that you're going to use. Then later on, you can use full words or whatever you want to use in this process. Okay, now I hope you've got that information. Now we're going to move on with a little more information. Now, internally, I want you to learn how to create an internal reality. Okay, a world within. When we dream at night, in a sense, we have an internal reality, but it's cluttered because it's not used. It's subconscious. It's not the same as a conscious mind would view things. But I want to teach you how to develop an inner reality that you're very consciously aware of. Dreamland, whatever you want to call it, but an inner reality. What you're going to do is just very simple. This is how I started out with my experiment on myself. I imagine a place in my past and my time, like a room that I'm very familiar with. And I imagined a chalkboard there. And imagine picking up a piece of chalk. Imagine holding the chalk in your hand, actually feeling it within your mind's eye. And imagine writing your name, like the letter C, okay? Or any other letter that's in your name. And write this and feel it as you're writing. You're actually feeling the tactile movement of your hand in your mind as you're doing it. So you're actually, in certain dreams, you can actually feel things. Okay, well, you can do that with your conscious mind too when you imagine. Feel it, feel the texture and everything of that as you're writing it. You don't have to hurry and write things down. Write things slow. Feel the movement, and then use your left hand in your mind's eye and feel the movement. If you have to start out, if it's difficult for you to envision these things, what I want you to do is literally take a pen or a piece of chalk and write on a piece of paper and feel that. And as you're feeling that and you're writing it, feel that. And as you're writing it in your mind at the same time, feel it and think it as you're doing it in your mind at the same time as you're writing, okay? And then you start using your other appendages. You start using your feet. Imagine using your feet. Lay down on the couch or bed and imagine moving your feet in the way that a letter is being formed. Imagine you have a piece of chalk between your toes and you're writing on this chalkboard in your room that you're familiar with in your past. And you're imagining this, writing this with your feet, and then with your appendages, imagine having the piece of chalk in your mouth and writing with the chalk in your mouth on this board. Okay, these are very simple things. You work on these. It'll take time, or some of you might get onto it really quick because you're very visual. Okay, now, then imagine your mind. Imagine an imaginary appendage coming from your mind's eye. Okay, you can do this. Okay, imagine moving the chalk with your mind, with your head, okay? You'll feel like an appendage. You'll feel like something coming out of that area. It's imaginary, but you can do this. You can form an appendage coming from your mind. Okay, now imagine writing with that. That would be the more extreme form of this experiment. You can do this later on when you get used to doing the normal visualization with sensation. Okay, now my time is almost up in this video. I'll come and give you another video and give you more information how to use your mind and how to develop an understanding of who you are and developing this inner reality. You'll be amazed what you can do with your mind, and amazed at the fact that you can use a lot more than with your mind than you've ever imagined, or use your mind in a way that you've never thought possible. So this is my first experimental video, and all you people that are doing the experiment, make sure that you're in a good mental state. Make sure you don't have no psychiatric or psychotic behavioral problems before you do this. See your doctor if you do before you do this experiment. And I'll see you back on my next video and work on these. Review this video and review what I've taught you. I try to get the information as quick as possible because there's a lot that I need to teach you, and I can teach you. So let's work together on this experiment.